Welcome to Talking in Stations. This is Matterall. Today we're going to talk to someone that's very interesting and someone I've wanted to talk to a long time. That is Antar Logan. And he is off screen. We'll meet him in just a minute. Right next to me here, though, is Richmond, sorry. How you doing, Rich? Good?
Hello.
Yeah. We also have another friend who's tagging along, and that is Rundle. This will be the first time you're on Talking in Stations. How's it going, Rundle?
Doing great. Thank you very much. Yeah, first time. Appreciate being here.
Yeah. It's really good to have you here. I'm a fan of Rundle's, so I asked him to come on, just kind of hang out with us. So what we're going to talk about today is Antar Logan and some of the stuff that you might have heard about him with the intel report that he would produce for people, including Test. He's from Test, but one of his clients was Brave. So this thing came up about Brave having to pay for intel or something. So for 12 billion or something like that. And we'll take a look at that and try to get to the bottom of it. There's also a couple other things that came out today that are very interesting as far as spies go. So today is Spy Day at Talking in Stations, where the unbelievable fact that the Spymaster for Guardians of the Galaxy, aka Dead Coalition, was actually a test spy, which is unbelievable. But some of the evidence was put out today. So we'll talk to Antar about that as well. And then in other spy news, Wrecking Crew leader Rocket X put out a blast as they kicked out an Init spy. He gave a ping to his fellows. It was really well written and kind of fleshed out a spy and said they will be given, spies will be given no quarter, which I thought was a pretty good line. Okay, so that's news, and we'll talk about a few other things as well. Let's get started. And first, we want to meet Antar. How are you doing, Antar?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Okay, so I know what you've done to a certain degree, but I'm not sure the audience does. So let's talk a little bit about you first and your career in EVE Online, where you started, and then what you did at Legion of Exdeath, and then beyond.
Sure. Like everyone else, I think I started in HiSec doing mining because that's where people start apparently. And like a few months in, I got asked by one of the TNT people to join them. So I did, and I found out that you can build Titans in nullsec. And within like 6 months of playing, I just wanted to do something interesting, and I built Titan and K5F, the home system back then of TNT. And it was fun, like the whole thing of mining, making something, etc. And then I got sick of it and wanted to do something else. And started slowly doing other things like small gangs and all that. Then I had a fallout with the leader, and he tried to blacklist me, and
Of TNT?
I tried to, yeah, Wibla.
Wibla.
But I ran to Vuk, which who ran for S. Obviously, before that he ran Morsis Mihi, but at the time he was in Razor, and I ran to his corp.
That was Vuklau?
Yeah, Vuklau, the one that got kicked by DJ for 7 years, and now he's back. Welcome back, Vuk.
Yeah, he's
That's
back,
a different story, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, ran to his corp, built it up. He, at that time, like a little bit after I was there, he got into some trouble with CCP, and the corp didn't have a CEO. So, yeah, there was confusion there and stuff like that. And one of the other directors took the CEO role. And we shortly, because of the people that were changed hands and all of that, we wound up in Goons. So I was, at that whole point, I was basically the FC in Razor, and then when we switched over, I was FCing in Goons.
About what year was that?
2013, 2014, 2012, something like that.
Well, being in Razor in 2014, that's when they were able to snatch BTAC R. I know we're going back to BTAC R all the time, but
I
that
was
was
in BTAC R as a goon. So
you were.
yeah, I was in BTAC R as a goon. I was helping call V targets because people were. It was wasn't that like perfect shooting and all of that on our side at the time either. It just was a little bit of mayhem also, as you could imagine. But
Yeah, here you are
yeah,
in 4S Corp
yep.
with Vuklau and Marana is in that too, right?
Yeah, Miran is the current CEO, yes,
Yeah.
and
Also,
also the head diplo of Goonswarm.
yeah, we like Marana. She's awesome. Big fans. Okay, so there you were, BTEC on Goon side in 4S, and then what happened?
Then there was a fallout when we joined Goonswarm as in our corp. I had a couple of assets in Venal. Venal is, as people know, it's NPC, so it's not really controlled by anyone. I was instructed to give up Technadium Moon. At that time, a Technadium Moon was huge. It was like the thing to have. It was the bottleneck
Yep.
for all the manu. So it was a big deal. And I was ordered to give it up to FCON. And since I was an FC at the time, I did not really have respect for FCON. I thought they were crabs, and it was a very very snub order since it wasn't the actual the money and all of that. It was the fact that I have to give it over to crabs in an NPC station where goons don't even control the region, right? And I didn't want to do it. So they ousted me, tried to kill my Titan on the way out, and DDoSed me for 3 months afterwards.
Wow. You
Yeah,
sure they DDoSed you, or was that a coincidence?
pretty sure they DDoSed me for 3 months. Couldn't do anything since I had a static. But yeah, then I joined XAX, and I was FCing there, and I slowly kind of got a reputation for doing fun things, and a lot of people joined. And since I'm bilingual, I speak Russian and English fluently, I'd like to think. And it was fun. I did that for 3-4 years, and yeah, I was the cap FC for the biggest fights with the Keepstar Death and MTO or what was that system?
Let me look. That was a
MTO2, right? Is that?
yeah, that sounds right. That was a great fight. That was one of the best fights of the year, actually.
It was basically at that time it was an interesting to do to feed like 200 300 dreads for a Keepstar, which I mean on paper it makes sense, and it's also fun on both sides. Those guys kill dreads, we kill their Keepstar. So it was an interesting, like, it had to be fed at a proper rate, and it wasn't just like I wasn't, there was like 4 people. PGL was there was even the bot guys were there helping, and NCC, the CEO of what is it, Fusion, right? He
Mm-hmm.
also like contributed with like 200 dreads. It was a team effort, but it was a big deal to kill that Keepstar at the time against a super capital armada. I would say it wasn't a terrible amount that they had.
Yeah, let me point that out real quick because I think it's a very underrated fight. It was probably my other favorite fight next to UALX, but this fight happened I think the year before, and you can see that GOTG at the time came through way up here, invaded, and landed here, and that big jump precludes them from using, or they can't use capitals from over there, so they have to jump through with their super capitals to raid the drone lands. And what they did is they jumped in with a Keepstar because they were going to plant it here in M202. Make sure I got that right. So that's a huge long jump, and they were trying to invade M202. They were going to put down a Keepstar, and they had Titans surrounding it. So they meant business. And I think it was Manfred Sidious and you and Pfeiffer and the Russian players all came and just totally fought that back with dreads, right? Was it mostly dreads?
It was mostly the residents that lived close by and XIX.
Okay.
PL actually showed up on the next timer on the side of Deadco. The biggest thing in that fight is that they were really Sword really didn't have respect for drones, and he called XIX paper tiger as a whole, which was Russians are proud people, so it was very hurtful to hear that the fact that we're doing all this, we're pretty active, we have a good force, and all of a sudden we're paper tigers, we can't do anything, right? That was hurtful. So it wasn't the Keepstar, it wasn't the invasion, it was the fact that he called us a bad name from my standpoint.
So is that what it was? Okay.
I guess, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And the Keepstar was destroyed. I think we're talking about the same fight. And then the Keepstar was destroyed, and the Titans got away. Though the Titans were able to withdraw,
We
but
didn't we didn't go for the supers. Everybody was really tired afterwards, so
because it was a long fight, right? It was a grind.
it was.
Yeah, that's great. That was a great fight, and you guys won it. And I think Manfred was actually. I thought Manfred was working with you guys in Manfred City.
No, I don't think he was at that point. It was PGL had the Jackdaws, and we had two cav fleets, one by the residents, one by XIX, and we had a couple of regular sub cav fleets.
Okay. Well, anyway, you repelled that. So go on. I just wanted to point out that was a really good fight.
Yeah. Then I was in XIX, and then actually it's funny because this is sort of also related because Sword Dragon, the leader of GOTG at the time, I'm pretty sure anyone that's listening would know. He demanded 1 trillion ISK, 1 trillion ISK from XIX to leave us alone or something like that. And that was, and I think I went on a show, I think it was a meta show, and I rarely go on the shows and I say, there's no way we're going to pay anything, right? And I found out that UAX Def at the time actually decided to pay him. So that was the reason. That was the reason why I left XX. I didn't want to be paying. It was beneath us as a group, I would say, to pay him anything. So didn't want to be part of that. Of course, everything's changed now. Just for the record, UX Def no longer really runs, or has excuse me, has nothing to do with XX. So the current, I encourage the current people to not have that against XX. They're actually pretty solid right now, as in terms of leadership.
Okay. By the way, that has an interesting parallel because UX Death basically gives in to that, and that ticked you off, and you left.
It was pretty secret. No one was supposed to know. But since even then, like I had my own channels and all that stuff, it was really.
Did it ever get out into
obvious.
public, or did you figure it out?
I don't think it was made public. Well, now it's public.
It is.
I actually even know what he spent it on. It was really annoying to see him spent it on Black Legion at the time for other random things. So he gets that trillion and he gives a little bit to his friends or whatever his other alliances, and a large chunk of it goes to Elo Knight. So that ticked me off even more, right? So yeah, that whole thing just wasn't good.
Yeah. Why would he give it to Elo Knight and Origin and Black Legion, basically? Origin's corporation.
It was for a quick merc job, but basically let's be BFFs kind of a like talk. You could ask them; they would know. I'm sure Elo wouldn't care to talk about it now.
Yeah. Okay, go on. It's funny because you end up in Origin later. It looks like.
Yeah, and I lose an Erebus in low second, and I leave. So it was great. Yeah,
just drop that off on their kill board.
No, it wasn't like that. It was for real. Like I wouldn't. Look, Elo's a good person. Like people could hate him low, etc. But he has a talent in this game, right? And people don't really
I think
deny
it's
that because they know.
Yeah.
Right. So I like his structure. I like the way he craves to play the game, and just him as like a person. He knows how to attract. He wants like a bunch of people to follow him and do things that are interesting, right? So he's one of those people where you should try, you should just go and see how he flies and just have fun with him, at least once in your Eve career. I would say there's a little plug, even though he's, I don't know if he's on Goons anymore, but he's definitely not with Test.
I believe he's still in Goons.
He's still Goons. He was helping Rizara before in Fraternity. I don't know if that's secret either. I don't.
No, that wasn't secret. I don't think that was secret.
Okay.
He's in Goons for this war, but I've heard, but it was from the Pappy side that he hasn't been showing up for more than a fleet or two per week or something. So I think he's there, but they're kind of he's not going full blast basically because he can. Yeah, he can go every day, like all day long. He's incredible, but it's not good for him to do that. Yeah.
Well, he gets really into it, like a lot of us do. Get really into the game, and you have to find a passion to do it. Like you have to hate the Goons to keep going after the Goons every day, stuff like that. So he has that. When it needs to be done, he comes through, I guess.
Right. Okay, so you end up so you're in XIX, and then you end up. What happens after XIX? You move over to Test at some point to dread it.
Yeah, Star Frontiers was a corp in. I had a bunch of friends from Star Frontiers used to have an alliance in Boss, in drones, which was called Boss.
Boss, yeah.
Don't they have that alliance again now?
Yep, they're back in Boss, but at the time they were in Test, so they were back and forth from Test into their own thing. They're currently in Venal, doing Venal things as their own alliance. So, but at that time they were in Test. I came, I had fun with them, I liked it, and stayed in Test.
All right, cool. So we'll move to modern times here. And the reason I wanted you to go through all that, by the way, is because you have a very distinguished history in EVE Online as a commander and stuff. And you're humble and stuff, so you don't take more credit than's deserved, but people should know that you do a lot and have done a lot. So let's move up to modern times. There was something that came up recently, and your name popped up again, which was interesting, and that was that you found a way to sell intel to groups. Can you explain what that is?
It's a relay system. Basically, everybody has them. The three big coalitions. So Goons have it. PanFam has the PL one, I guess. I guess let's not go there. But and Test has one as well. So Test has a bunch of alliances. It costs a lot to run those kinds of services. It's not just a relay. There's spies. There's all this stuff. There's all the intel involved with the relays that is essential to, especially to wars.
Let's start with the basics. What's a relay? What's in this relay?
It's basically channels, pings, stuff that is important for people that make decisions on the other end to see the enemy say or do. So let's say the enemy is forming a fleet. If you don't have a relay, you're looking at the local. You're looking at the local, and the only time where you can actually see what's happening is when they're undocking from their staging system. So you see, let's say, 100 mutants on dock, and that's when you know something's happening, and that's when you respond by pinging your own group if you don't have a relay. If you have a relay, you see the enemy pings as they come through, so you know that they're forming earlier, you know what they're in, you know what they're coming for because of the form-up, because of the ships they're using, and you're more prepared to counter or react appropriately and save yourself maybe 10-15 minutes on a reaction from your end. So they're quite important. Everybody uses them now. Before it was a big deal. Now it's not.
So instead of waiting for Rundle, you were gonna say something?
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, like, if you're just a standard pilot, how this comes across to you is your FC all of a sudden comes and says, Goons or Test or whoever, they've pinged 10 times for this fight. They're rage pinging for 47 times in the last hour. Your natural thought is, oh, it's a spy or something. No, it's these back channels. This is the information that's linking it all together so that people know, we will or won't get a fight. That's in essence how it comes to you as a regular player.
Got it. And this is a relay because you don't want to have like most people would put a spy in Karma Fleet or a spy in Horde, but you want to make sure that the person's not asleep at the time that the fleet is going out. So that's why you automate this so you don't have to depend on people.
Right. It has to be one of those things where at 3 a.m. you're not going to have, or whatever time, you might have a reaction that's slow, or somebody's asleep at the wheel. Any kind of automation that you can make obviously is a better tool for the FCs to use. And that's what a really essentially is. It's just another tool for the decision makers that control the military aspect of an alliance. That's what you would do.
And this isn't just the F1 pusher's view, right? Like you have spies in different groups. We're talking like capitals, maybe even super capital spies. So this is why it takes a long time to really infiltrate a group at that level.
Yeah, you would. I mean, I'm not saying what we have, we don't have, but
Yeah.
a
We're
friend of
talking
mine just
all theoretical.
yeah, just told me to be like, yeah, we have everything, and that's it, and just be kind of let it stay there. But yeah, it's also on a different levels. Let's say if we had a chat of their finance team, right, where their money going, where it's going, what they're using it for, stuff like that. So let's say if I saw that chat, the 12 billion would look really stupid compared to what they're spending it on, their 21 trillion and their deficits and all that stuff. So yeah, it goes a long way. It's not just for FCs. It's for, I mean, everything is in a chat right somewhere. So you could take that chat and you can put that chat wherever you want for other people to see. So
Yeah, it's very, I see. So it's an information line basically on your opponent.
correct, yeah.
And
How
it's
long have
it's
you?
metagame information, right? That's the other key thing too. Is it's not just in-game information. I can, if anyone remembers Eve Skunk, I got some stories there which are probably a historical relevance to
Oh
this.
yeah,
But
we'll talk about that actually in a second.
this sounds kind of like the meta version of what all this was, 8-9 years ago.
Sure. Except
yeah.
Skunk was API pulls, right? So it's a lot.
Right, back exactly.
How did you get into this kind of thing? When did you begin? I guess. Are you a spy master? Do you yourself manage spies and have spies or spy yourself?
The $1 million question, huh? Yeah, I'm a TA director, as in the highest guy in our alliance to do that stuff. So yes, I'm a spy master. I run spies. I have my own spies and all that stuff.
So
It's
for people that don't
Well, how
know,
did you?
hold on a second. For people that don't know what a spy master is in EVE Online, right? What's a spy master do?
so spy master is the top of the food chain, I would say, in the spy world, as in he knows every spy. He knows where they are. He knows what they do. He's the one that controls them, more or less, or asks them to be in a certain situation, get this, get that.
They don't even know each other, right?
That's the whole thing about it. Actually, in one corp, I had the whole corp was test spies, and no one knew. That was during the FRT war. No one knew that they were a spy for test. The whole corp, literally.
They're all
So
spying
stuff
on
like
each
that.
other.
Yeah, it was stuff like that happens all the time. You kind of have to kind of like really bite your lip to make sure no one.
I think another big distinction is spy masters tend not to have handlers. The handlers work for the spy masters, handling spies as the intermediaries. So they're
Correct.
at the very top, right?
Correct. The handlers are the ones. Well, let's say, uh, not that I know anything about the Black Hand, but it's a good example. They have quite a few handlers, only one spy master, right? They have like 15 handlers, and that's what it is. The spy master is the one that knows the identities. Handlers just get the information from the spies. They might not even know the spy's identity, just getting the intel. So yeah, it's basically a very compartmentalized way to do things, but it works because you really want to preserve and keep as much intel and information that's vital to actually keeping that intel and not losing it, as in the people that give it to you. um, that has to be a priority when you do this. So the main thing you can do is get, like, as in burn spies or lose spies and stuff like that. So as long as you're smart enough not to do that, you're a good spy master, basically.
Would you say you're better at the, I guess, offensive spying, more infiltration, or are you better at defensive spying, counterintelligence?
Another good question. Like somebody knows about something, huh?
Yeah, that's why he's here.
Okay. So yeah, there's CI, there's IA, right? So internal affairs, counterintelligence, and then there's actual spying where you actually do insertions and stuff like that. So there's 3 TIA directors. One of them, we make them public. It's not like it's one of those huge, oh my God, you're da, da, da. It's not a big deal. And I'm mostly external, even though there's a lot of stuff that comes with internal and external, where you actually find the spies inside by going outside, right? So I'm more external, as in controlling the flow of information that's coming to us, than finding the spies that are inside, right? Because that would be another job for
Yeah.
TIA to actually find the bad guys.
And when did you begin this career? Did you begin in XIX, or did you start doing it before?
So a lot of alliances kind of don't really put a lot of effort into, as in you have to have a large budget, you have to have knowledgeable people, you have to have the tools and information needed to not get. But imagine training a spy for 6 months, then inserting him, then using all these skill injectors and all this stuff, spending 20-30 billion, and then within 2 days you're kicked from Goon Swarm, right? That can happen because if you don't know stuff about it, you're just going to lose a lot of time and effort, and that would just basically be like a mental knock in the face where you would just be like, okay, fuck this, right? So sorry if I don't know if this is...
Yeah, that's cool. It's all right.
Okay. Yeah, so you really have to kind of know your shit, and basically, to answer your question, for when I had to FC, I had to know information. So when, let's say, the 2013 Confederate of Pizza, if you know them, you know that they're small but fucking awesome. So they went into NPC Geminate and started fucking with XX, right? So I had to counter that, right? To counter that, you have to know what's going on in their heads, how they're playing, what they're doing when they're forming. So I had to put in my own spies because XX didn't have per se enough people or influence or etc. to actually do that themselves. So in XX, for me to be good, I had to do it myself, and so I had a bunch of spies then to make myself effective.
Yeah.
For
those,
began in 20.
Hold on a second. For more information on some of this meta gaming that happens, I did a speech at EVE Vegas in 2015. I just put it into chat there. It's called In Search of EVE's Illuminati. And I won't spoil it for you because I eventually worked down to tell you who the Illuminati are inside of EVE Online. But it's related to this kind of thing. There are people that know the secrets behind the scenes. And who are they? And how come nobody knows who they are? So check out that video later on.
Oh, isn't the top tier of the goons called Illuminati?
Well, their channel is called Illuminati, but that's not who I was talking about. I was talking about the real Illuminati, the ones that actually control EVE Online, because it's not really the FCs, it's not really the CEOs. There is a layer of people that are so powerful in this game that they really hold all the cards, and there are a small number of them. So I called them the Illuminati, and then I talk about them.
So like nullsec power people, right? Is what that basically is, or
it's actually I'll just spoil it for you guys since I need to say this. It's actually no, it's okay. I was talking to the audience there because chat was like starting to guess. The Illuminati and EVE Online are actually the IT guys, because they're the ones that set up the defensive and the offensive operations in relationship to what Antar is saying here, which is, the guys that have to like put in the tracers to kind of blow people's covers to, all the counterintelligence and intelligence work that's done is done through IT. right? The DDoS attack that you suffered is basically a hacker IT guy.
Right. I mean, goons have it separately as a GIA versus Black Hand, but basically work together all the time. So sometimes you can't even tell the difference who works for what. They just
Right.
kind of help each other out. Yeah.
No.
So you began your spy mastery in around, as you said, 2013 with the the pizza attack, and then I presume it escalated from here, where you started doing more and more.
Sorry, no, I never said I was a spy master in 2013.
Oh, you did spying in 2013. When did you start doing some major spying and spy mastery?
So I began in XIX to spy. My first spy was an XX spy actually, and then I turned that into a main, and I FC'd with that, and I used my evil powers to do good for XX. Let's just say it. So yeah, in Goons, I wasn't a spy when I was there.
I see. So once you did XIX ever find out that you were originally there as a spy?
Yeah, they knew, even though they never confronted me about it. One of their guys, that's a friend, reported me as a spy, but they didn't care. They were, I don't know, they were okay with, with it or
Are you
something.
two still friends today?
I I actually had dinner with few ex-def and like some PL people, and like I know the key players in that alliance. So he lived like 5 minutes away from me in my previous place. So
You both
you
speak
know,
Russian
well, and English, right? So
and English. Yeah.
so
I
yeah.
see.
So it was
So did you eventually become XIX's spy master?
no.
No? Oh. But you did gain some experience during your time there.
I had my own spies. There was a spy network when I was leaving. There was a spy network. Carr more or less ran it. So he's not playing anymore, so I can say that. So he had a bunch of people like that was helping him, but I never got into it. I was an FC. You can't really do both. I was,
Right.
I would form up like 1,000 people, just all of the drones, and be like, okay, Snuff, fight me, that kind of stuff. So you can't really. It's very hard to do both. I did it when I needed to. So when I came to test, I saw that they were missing this vital part of. Well, not missing. They had stuff, but it wasn't enough, right? And I figured, they have plenty of FCs. They kind of are missing this vital, important role. And I started helping them until they decided it was okay for me to be a director.
I see. And this relay, I presume you are a programmer if you're able to set something up like this.
No, there's a team. You don't have to be a
Oh.
programmer.
I see. I see.
You hand
Did you?
you hand it off to an Illuminati.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Listen, sorry, I'm going to ask a question here. I might disappear for a minute and then you can take over there, Rich. But, well, actually, why don't I yield to Rich? And then I want to talk about the Brave situation specifically, just to kind of get that cleared up on what was going on. Go ahead, Brave. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, so you weren't really able to do, well, you weren't a spy master, you were mainly a commander during the destruction of the Drone Region Federation by Skill U, correct?
No, actually, so when that happened, I wasn't an XX. I left XIX with my corp. You see the URYE, the yellow corp or
Yeah,
whatever?
right here.
Yeah, United Republic of Yellow Eagles.
2018.
Right, it's a personal corp. And basically, I left before that happened. I left when we were being naughty or something, and then we had a couple of powwows with them, and we pushed them back into Curse, I believe. And when we actually won is when I left, and 3 months later is when
Well,
they were caught on a gate
when
or something.
when you left, that's when it started to collapse. You actually killed Triumvirate by killing their Keepstar, I believe. Were you involved in
And
that?
it's funny because I helped them anchor it. I formed 300 people to protect that Keepstar, and then I was pretty inactive in the end. But I knew what I did in the end was I held Ethereum Reach, which was one of those buffer zones.
Mm-hmm.
That it was kind of vital, and there was some incidents happening since I did have some kind of a spy information kind of a thing. I had a bunch of intel of Vince trying to do dirty games, and he was being nice to the leaders' faces, even though I saw through that, and he was trying to do bad things to XX as a whole.
Oh, Vince
So when
Draken. Oh, interesting.
so when Vince and LS were really out to get XIX, and XX didn't see it, and I didn't want to, be involved in all of that. That's when I left, and that's when they took over, and it was very convenient timing because all the faction forts were converted. So they got a bunch of faction forts, they got a bunch of stuff, and reduced XX to a minute entity. So
What did you do during the
Yeah.
time of the Skill U invasion of the Dren Region Federation?
I would make a form. I would basically be like, everybody hands on deck. We're gonna fucking.
I mean, what were you doing at the time since you weren't in XIX?
Oh, you're saying when DRF was reduced, what was I doing? I was doing nothing.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were away from at the time, I see.
I went to real life and I started, because when you play this game, it actually, in case you don't know, it really affects your real life because people that really play this game tend to spend a lot of time on it. So I stepped away. I did a lot of real life stuff, and that was pretty productive in real life. And then I decided to come back.
Yeah. But it is interesting to me after you left that's when XIX really got into trouble. And what was the point of Skill U? How did they come to turn on their masters? Can you explain that a little bit?
Skill U weren't Triumvirate were the ones that we weren't their masters. But Skill U and Triumvirate are different entities, just making sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Tri were our allies for a certain point. Skill U weren't really our allies. They just wanted to get paid.
But they were hired by you as mercenaries.
They were hired for a certain time and then they flipped. And,
yeah, they basically looked around and said, "Hey, we don't have to work for these guys. Let's just take their stuff." And they turned around and started attacking you guys.
So Lady Scarlet paid him 50 billion. I don't even know if that's, like I said, I have too much information, and sometimes I could just like say something that's not
public.
Oh,
right.
From what I've known, it was something about they were originally going to flip on you, but not being paid also made it a convenient excuse and a cause for them to do so.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever get the logs, you could see me saying, "Okay, did XX actually pay you?" Because I didn't want to be involved with that, right? And they said, "Yes, they have paid us. We're working for you now." And that's when I started instructing them to do things. So
I see.
And then 2 days later, "Oh, we never got the payment. We're flipping on you." So that's what really happened. Yeah.
I believe you also worked with Fafer at the time, right?
Kind of sounds like Snuff, doesn't it?
Well, Skill U's no more, but I would say they're better than Snuff. Snuff is the lowest tier you can possibly get, honestly. Tau and High. If you guys knew them, come on.
Yeah, but the point is that they actually took money and then said, "We want more. Okay, we're going to attack you anyway." So they just did, and that seems to be the same thing Skill U did.
Snuffed out just like being the bad guys of EVE.
I think the official press release, it was something about they were meant to be paid, and the person that paid them had a real life incident where they couldn't pay. It's a complicated, I guess.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think they're. And what's really convenient is that the Diplo switched also. They had this girl that made the deal, and then all of a sudden, it wasn't the girl Diplo. It was someone else running the show from their end. When that happens, you always kind of you're always a little sus about what's happening on their end.
Yeah,
I believe there were there were a few people involved who is Fafer still involved in TIA.
Fafer is a director.
You worked with Fafer, and you also worked with Argus, who is the CEO of Star Frontiers in TIA, right?
I've never worked with Argus. Argus
you
was
never worked with Argus.
One of the initial TIA directors, but when his corp left, he gave up his seat. I took over his seat essentially.
Okay, so let me just make something clear to the audience because you pointed it out and I want to make it clear. Triumvirate was friendly to you guys, but you ended up getting into a fight with Triumvirate and you ended up destroying their Keep Star, and that really kind of ended Triumvirate for that version of them. They keep coming back to life.
Well, they're in Cloud Rain. I hope all the best for them. Like they have really good people. What's his name? Garst, right?
Garst, yeah.
Yeah, Garst.
Garst is a little, he has a military background, so he likes things a certain way. And he, for some reason, thought we were calling him pets, and it wasn't like that. And he made side deals with NCPL, and that's why he lived in Theater Reach for so long with Slice, I think, right? Is that where they were? And then
I don't remember if
Yes.
Slice was there yet,
Yeah.
though. They
And
might have
then
been.
Red Alliance kicked them in the teeth. They went to low, and now they're in Cloud Ring. So it's nice to have those small, alliances that are very well knit. Their structure is almost directorship or whatever leadership is almost impenetrable by people like me, which is great for them. So best of luck to them. But yeah,
right. And then but they're different than Skill U, which Skill U I think was mostly pizza, wasn't it?
It was Confederation of Pizza plus remnants of Tri. So
okay.
a lot of people left Tri to go to Skill U, but the leadership was still, and their perception on things was very different. Pizza was let's have fun, whatever, who cares. And
Right.
Skill U is don't you lose one Loki to this fight, don't you lose nothing, And it's like we have 100 super caps, but if we lose one, let's not field them. It was a very different perception from the top. I can mention those people, but it doesn't matter. They're no longer playing.
I'll mention him, Capku, right? Capku is one of their FCs.
Capku was one of them, but he wasn't the main guy.
Okay.
Barra.
Yeah.
Barra, right.
Do you still use the duplicate members logging tool in TIA?
Duplicate members.
Duplicate member log.
Yeah, you're getting into techniques.
Logger.
So that's one of those questions where it would be a boundary for me to answer or not to answer.
All right.
That's fair enough.
Okay, let's go back though to the story because that's what we want to get. I just wanted to clear that up. The Triumvirate was different than Skill U, although now they're kind of related because some Triumvirate went over to Skill U. But that's who you were dealing with. When you went away, that's when, not to say that they collapsed because you went away, but you weren't involved when XIX folded. They were just exhausted, I think, from constant being attacked by the guys.
They got caught. So the big thing was when they were moving to Innsmother, they got caught on gate, and it's still very what happened there? Why was there all these Titans and all these supers just on a gate? It was very weird, the whole situation. And that current FC, his whole corp went to, or actually they left the one of the corps, a bunch of them, and formed their own corp in NC afterwards. So that whole thing is did the Super FC actually force that whole thing to happen where they lost a bunch of supers and titans? Because after you lose supers and titans, it's very hard to come back to it if you don't have the proper financial predicament or whatever.
Is that the one where they were moving and got caught moving? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
They were caught by Triumvirate, and NC Dot was on its way too to help out.
Right. All of EVE came. The worst part of it was when NC lit a Sino for Snuff. If you know their history, that was one of those things. They hate each other. NC and Snuff are definitely not friends, right? Yeah. And you see NC lighting a Sino for Snuff to come in and whore or come in and actually fight XX or whatever it was. It would explain the whole situation. So I wasn't there for it. I think it was 2-3 months where I wasn't even playing anymore. But of course, when that happened, I wanted to know.
You knew something was up. Yeah.
What the hell was going on? Yeah, it was very weird.
Okay, so you come back to test, and tell us about if there's anything to say about that, and then of course the situation with setting up the relays of intel and all that.
So came to test, and I saw that, like I said, I saw that they were missing vital things. It's not like they didn't have it, or maybe they didn't show me, or whatever it was, but I saw that there was not enough of it, let's just say. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. There's just one more thing that makes sense here now to put this part into it. When XIX was doing a move op, They got caught. It was a move up, right? So they had their super capitals totally destroyed. Most of them were Hells, if I'm not mistaken. And
No, a lot of them actually came out of there, but
okay,
a lot, yeah, they lost. They didn't lose that much, but whatever they lost, like we wanted to make good reparations. So like alliances like Synergy of Steel lost, I think, a couple of Titans, and Razor lost a couple of Titans. We wanted to help them and make their losses right from our standpoint.
right now,
So
what I wanted to get to is XIX is moving to
Insmother, right?
Insmother to sit near Legacy. So Test was basically going to help them, but Test didn't intervene because they were too far out. I remember they were taunting. They did help out.
So,
okay.
So this, I don't know if this is OPSEC or not anymore.
It's kind of old, so assume no.
so back then, from what I understood, and now this is like from obviously Carr and so forth, because that's who I would talk to. Who else would I found this out from? Yeah. So they basically said that Legacy were ready to commit supers to this fight, but the situation escalated so high that supers wasn't like a smart option. But they did what they could. They dropped as many dreads as they could, right, to get, I think they dropped like 300, 400, I don't know, a crap load of dreads to help the situation. So it's not like they just stood by and watched. I would say that's inaccurate.
No, I just remember Pro God getting taunted, like, where are your supers? Why didn't you jump in here?
Right.
Because we thought, well, I was watching that fight and I was like, is this going to escalate? Are we seeing a really big deal here? Because Test is going to help their new ally with their supers, and you have Triumvirate and CDOT jumping into this. Like, what's going to happen here? It was a volatile situation.
Right, I agree, and I don't know if it was their move to make, so they made it. If I was there or I wasn't there, I don't think it would have mattered, because that whole, to be in that predicament is already like mistakes were made kind of a deal, right?
Right.
So yeah. when I was actually like in XX and doing all this, I would never let that happen. Let's say I would be like, no, don't light the signer here, or what the fuck is this? No, we're gonna go a different way.
Right. There was an after action report that pointed out some mistakes were made, but yeah, okay. So that's the reason I bring that up, and this is why I interrupted you, is to show like why a former XIX player is in Test. There's a natural alliance there friendliness going on. But continue. You're in Test, and
yeah. So when that happened, I was still, when I was coming back, I was still kind of upset at XX for reasons I mentioned, and I'm blacklisted in Goons. I'm blacklisted in Pandemic Legion. So there was only one place to go.
Why are you blacklisted in Goons? Did we cover that?
Well, he
because of the tech. Because of I didn't give up the moon, right?
Oh, you didn't give up the OTech moon, right? And why are you Hold on. Why are you blacklisted in PL?
You could ask PNIF and Doom about that. I don't really know.
Well, Doom's gone, and PNIF is in Goonswarm now.
PNIF wanted to remove my services for some reason, and so it's always, whenever like you had some kind of authority before, they're always wary of you, like, you're this big guy, etc. Why would you ever, like, not be in them, etc. And sometimes you just want variety, you just want to kind of feel everything out, like see what's going on the other side. And they thought I was probably a spy or something. Who knows?
Well, with your spying, did you have any run-ins with other spymasters, other counterintelligence, whether that be, I believe in your era that would be Digi in Goons, and in PL that would be Grath Talkin. Did you?
So you're talking about 2013, where I wasn't a spy.
2013 and onwards, yes.
Right.
Did you have any run-ins with them? Well, 2013, as you left Goons, you said some things occurred with your connection, and
but Digi was a security person for. So basically, give you an example. If you want to join the Illuminati, he would do an actual real life background check on you for you to get in.
I remember, yeah, somebody who I believe he was a diplomat for Goonswarm mentioned that he had to hand over his social security ID and other personal details, so Digi would do a background check on him. And I believe Digi was also handled Goonswarm intelligence. Did you have any run-ins with him?
Not intelligence, I don't think.
Oh, sorry, not
So,
intelligence. Security.
like I said, he was the security. Yeah, he was. Is it okay to say what he did in real life? Or is that?
Let's say
he's no longer in the game now.
Let's just say he had skills that related to that.
Yeah, his real life work, he knew exactly what he was doing. So if you give him information, he'd pull up everything on you. It was pretty funny because I am very careful about what I put out there. So my Facebook gave a different name. So he started calling me by that fake name because he looked that up on Facebook. And then eventually I was like, dude, that's really not my name. And I laughed about it. So he didn't appreciate that. And he was like, why would this guy have a fake Facebook? Blah, blah, blah.
Even more suspicious.
People like you. Yeah.
Oh,
so it wasn't, he was a security guy. He wasn't, there was other people that were, you could call them, Black Hand or whatever, more than him. He's just the guy that would find, he was internal. He would find the spies. And obviously, since I was director of 4S and had a high role at sea and all that things and goons, some members would be brought up to him and he would be like, well, this guy is probably a spy because he uses VPN. Why would he use a VPN? Stuff like that. So
yeah, that is an Illuminati, right? That's what I was talking about.
Digi was an Illuminati, right?
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay, in your terms. Okay.
In my terms, yeah. I'm not talking about the room that goons have.
And after Goonswarm Federation, did you have any run-ins, I guess? I'm presuming you had spies in PL.
This is like a fishing expedition now, huh? So
where
are you going? Where are you going with all these questions? I'm trying to get back to Brave, but if you want to answer that or not, either way, it's up to you.
So in my current situation, to answer your initial question, is that when I actually took the role of spy director, I did branch out and I, started making friends, let's just say. So if I have friends that have PL background and are, Spymasters or not, it's for them to say or not say, or in Horde or wherever, not like NC actually has. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep punting at NC because
yeah, I know.
it's okay.
Sensitive stuff.
I'm guessing you had.
Hold on, Rich. You can talk in just a second because I may have to leave for a minute. But I do want to get to the Brave stuff, and then maybe we might be able to finish up. But why was Brave paying $12 billion? What was that whole mess about? Let's get to that, since that's why you were in the news recently.
It's worth every penny, though, right?
Well, it sounds like it.
So, yeah, it's worth every penny. Basically, what they're really upset about is that the guy that leaked. Let's talk about the actual nitty gritty of it, right? The meatball. Basically, goons see the high command chat of Brave. That's the highest chat they have. In case everyone was wondering, that was the high command, right? That was Brave's high command. There was very few people in there. I could count on my two hands the people in there, right? So obviously one of them either sold information or is a goon spy. So them leaking that shows that they're curious about what's happening. They know that putting that in there would give them lay the foundation of asking more questions like, what is it? What can he see? Where is it? And try to kind of feel their way in there to kind of figure out what is all this about. We don't know about this. Let's find out. And this is how we're going to do it because we have 21 trillion. We have some money to spend, right? And that's what it is at the root of it. What the 12 billion is, it's not 12 billion. First, it's 4 billion a month. So they pay in 3-month increments. And as I said right after that happened, I said, listen, guys, this is chump change. This is not a spy network is a lot more than this 4 billion a month, obviously, and this is not a secret. Any actual spy network is, let's say, from 80 to 120 billion a month
That's a
from
lot.
spending.
So this is not you're not you're not abusing them. That's almost charitable how much you're charging.
All right, it's basically for them to know that and when I came to him, I said straight up, I was like, dude, like this 4 billion or whatever, if it's a problem for you, you could have it back. I was very sincere. Brave are BFFs. There's no doubt about it. They do a lot for us. We do a lot, well, we do enough for them. I don't know, like who. It's just they're our friends, right? There's no, and I'm not here to like in any way kind of mess that up or anything like that. It was from my standpoint, it was the ability for their FCs to be able to make decisions on their own and either defend or give offense to the enemies that were at their doorstep. So
yeah, for those that say that's expensive or making a joke about it, you didn't hear the first part of the show. When we talk about these relays, what they actually are, they're not just pings from the other side. They're much more than that. They're intel on every level.
4 billion for pings on intel of every level. I take that. You know,
I take that as an individual. Not
oh
just
hell yeah! I would take that as a small gang group. In fact, during my short time in test, I did get to speak with Manny, and he talked about how expensive it is because with Intel networks, you know, there's a penny for you have to spend a penny for every ping, a penny for every minute of somebody's time, a penny to compensate the spies, a penny to replace anything they potentially lose, and you know, a pound to set them up. It all costs money, and for 4 billion for Brave, that's chump change. You can 4 billion. That's 2 carriers.
Are you actually putting pennies down?
Oh yes. I leaned forward to get a handful of coins.
Okay. Go ahead, Antonio.
Yeah. So you guys are right. Basically, it's you know, and if you have the high-end spies, you really have to make sure that first of all, you know, if it's like, let's say, if we have these, you know, expensive spies, it's a lot of stuff that gets involved. Let's say they're a super character, right? Or they're at the level of being a super character. Like it's our job to kind of push them forward, right? In a way where no one can notice. Or let's say they're getting on some really high level directorship, right? It's our job to kind of make sure they get there. Or maybe they're part of Black Hand. So we're gonna spend money to kill one of our own spies, compensate him later, and then make sure that guy goes through as a, you know, on a higher level. Let's say that that spy becomes a handler. So we would, you know, burn our own guys, pay them for it, and then this guy goes up higher. So there's very like money is a big portion of it, and of course it's gonna play a vital role. And you don't want to go crazy with it, right? But you definitely need money for it to work.
This is important because we're going to have to do it a different time, but maybe when we can get, is it Meyiah? What was her name? Meyiah?
Meyiah.
Meyiah. We'll have to get Meyiah. She's, I think she said she's a French spy. And money was a big part of her advancement. That I thought that was a very interesting detail in something. Let's talk about that real quick. There was something on Reddit here. It's Rocket X. It says "Happy Deathversary, Darkness," and or "How I Killed You."
So this is
go ahead.
Yeah, this is it's been 1 year, exactly 1 year since Darkness decided to disband and join Init per se. And during this time is a very interesting time because Hanzo was also talking to the basically Init and Goons and so forth, and they all thought that they were that Siberian Squad was actually joining them.
Hanzo's a leader of Siberian Squad. Yeah.
Right. So
after Darkness, after Dead Coalition or Guardians of the Galaxies was breaking up, way back then, Siberian Squad was thinking of joining.
Right, and he was basically telling them that, oh yeah, we're going with you, etc. Meantime, he's talking to us and telling us that he's going to Legacy. So stuff like that, which is pretty funny because he just recently, like a week ago, flipped back into. So he likes to flip, which is okay, which is part of the game and etc. And a week before that, he's asking me for goon and init pings to see them, so he can, I don't know, fight the enemy or something like that. Meantime, he's a week away from joining them, which was also weird. So
Did you give him the pings?
so goons goons is very different than init. Init is a Discord based, which is harder to find. Goons are able to do things to find, if they see the relay, to find it almost immediately. So and that's part of like being the Spymaster, knowing what's what the intelligence is. I know all those guys that are fighting against me because I was there. I mean, they're still there. Like Nominate is a big dude there. He's the one that would basically, I'd be fighting him if I was anyone, doing all the little tricks that he does. So yeah, and it's funny, he's on the CSM, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
right.
For a few years.
Yeah. So yeah, basically he wanted that stuff, which he obviously didn't get because I had intel on him that he wasn't to be trusted.
I
On
see.
Hanzo.
And this spy, Meyiah, am I correct that she was a spy all along? She wasn't. So I'd like to make this distinction for everybody. There are, when I say spy, there's two different kinds of spies. To me, there is the betrayer, the turncoat, the defector.
The
These are
traitor,
people
right?
traitor. These are the people that join the group who are loyal to
Right.
the group, but for whatever reason they were converted. They
Right.
decided to betray. They decided to backstab their group.
The judge or knight or all those people, right?
So the person who disbanded Requiem Eternal was not like a true undercover spy. They were a traitor, plain and simple.
Traitor,
And that's a lot less glamorous, in my opinion. The spy I'm talking about, or in this case of Meyiah, based on what I'm seeing, she was a spy from the beginning. She was undercover from the beginning, and she was always loyal to Test. But she was obviously there to infiltrate and play her role. So am I correct that Meyiah was a unique case of a true undercover spy?
I would say you never know, because a double or triple kind of
Yeah.
agent is a thing. It's a possibility. From what I've seen, she's good people's from my standpoint. So
I see. Now, how do you recruit spies, or what kind of characteristic of a person do you look for when you look for a spy?
well, it depends. First is, do you have an information network or anything that I can use? If you don't, are you able to get in and get it for me? Right. So it would be somebody. Let's say, remember when the call was made for other goons to come in, uh, when Mitani sounded the Horn of Gundor. You guys remember that in September?
Yes, I remember
Mm-hmm.
that.
Right. So basically, he sent out an email to all the people that stopped playing and said, "We need you now. Come back into the game. Well, we need to kick all these bad guys in the teeth and win." Right. So that was a really good opportunity for me to be like, "Oh my God, this is like a welcome back." They stopped recruiting at the time. They did not recruit a single soul. Well, they did, but they didn't. Right. So recruitment was closed. And to get more, you're never, it's, if you have 50, 100 spies, it's never enough. You always want more, right? So that was a very good opportunity for us to kind of poke people and be like, I know you don't want them, you don't want to go in, and you hate them, but this is an open ticket. Why don't you help the other side, right? So a lot
Oh,
of people answered the
interesting.
calls, and a lot of people were not real goons, and they were helping us. So
So when the Horn of Gundor went off, they got players back, but some of those players actually were spies.
right.
Oh wow, I didn't think of that.
So that's just an example. It's not like this is the only opportunity. We recently they started
Right, because
recruiting again.
during war, normally they close down recruitment, so nobody new can get in. So it's
Right.
hard to get
Test
people.
hasn't, and I usually nuke at least 10 people a month, just for. It is easy to kind of go, and make a new character and try to get in. But
Are these people you nuke low-level spies like comm spies, fleet spies, or have you recently caught some quite serious people, or are you not able to say?
so there's a lot of line member people or people that don't, and then there's the black hand spy, the one that actually know what they're doing. They've been prepped. they know all the tricks, and there are tricks, there are little things that they do know, they might not know. But every single thing that I would say on how we would catch them or who they were, etc., actually undermines us, because it prevents us, or if anybody figures it out, it prevents us from uh, utilizing the same tool, because they'll be prepared for it, right? So we catch him, we kick him to the curb, uh, almost all the time. Well, the ones that I catch are like 100%, like there's no doubt. There are other people that kind of like, other directors that would narrow down and maybe not be 100, but fairly sure, stuff like that. So it all depends up to the person that makes the decision. But I'd like to think that we're pretty good at what we do.
I see, I see. And for everybody, when he talks about the average spy and the Black Hand spy, to me it's like the case of the Requiem Eternal traitor. He wasn't a proper trained spy. He did a smash and grab. He ran off with loot. He ran off with.
Well, he didn't just
might have flipped a few things, but in the case of your spy Meyiah here, she was a true spy, and she destroyed the
so the
coalition.
Requiem. The thing that's missing from the stories, and this is one of those things where obviously I have more information than maybe other people. He was paid by goons, right? It wasn't just, oh, look at him, he's a hero. It wasn't like that.
No, he's no hero.
He got paid. He got paid for that, right? So then they spun it, and it was like, yeah, the hero, because they're so terrible, they pick on him. No, it's because he wanted his assets to be above 1 trillion, and which they are right now. Congratulations to him.
No, they're not. On paper they are, but I can tell you through my own XD, they're not physically at 1 trillion or more. Paper, yes. Reality, I don't think they are.
Whatever it is, but that's what I mean. Since if you're in the know, good for you. But I mean, it is what it is, right? So he did it for the money. He wasn't gonna stay there anyway, and he didn't want to be a bitch, basically. So
if he were properly trained and a real spy, I presume he would have been able to do a lot more damage.
Well, like let's take the Brave guy, the HC guy, right? The High Command guy. So for you to take that, there's 3 possibilities. Brave went with the really, really bad one, I would say, in my judgment. The one where one of you was hacked, and that's how they got it. And the reason why they're releasing it is because the hack was patched, right? That's almost never the case. It is almost never the case, because for them to actually find the right person to link to and like to get that it's minute. It's minute. Most of the time, it's either he sold those. I would say, just throwing a figure out, for like 20 billion, he would sell those locks for, or something like that, and goons would pay it, right? Or he's a hardcore goon spy in Brave High Command. Whichever one of those 2 options are, that is a big, big signal for Brave to make sure that that guy doesn't come through and like actually is the one that runs that alliance.
You talk about greed. Is that a common factor for a lot of people who are spying or betraying? Or are some spies not motivated by pure, monetary gain?
It depends how they start out. It depends how they play. Let's say this guy is in test for 5 years. He wants to help our alliance by being a spy, right? Or he was with us for a while. He makes a lot of friends. We need this done, right? That motive is very different than, oh, I'm in Red Alliance right now and I'm going elsewhere. Can you pay me for going elsewhere? That is very different. So it depends on the person. Really
I
depends.
see.
It's not really even spying. I think that's to Rich's point about a distinction. When you just wake up one day and want to do something, you use the word correctly, Antar. They're just a traitor. There's no element of spying.
Right.
Spying means usually some sort of decisive long-term objective or short-term objective. And a spy will do things not because they want to do it, because they have some direction provided to them. So you would never burn a spy to toss a few um, stations over and steal some money. It's very unlikely you would burn a spy for that objective, because it doesn't. The use of the effort going in will not return what you need it to return, And so why would you do that?
Right. The
The
highest.
exam-
Yep. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, the real life example I would draw is you have plenty in say police and well, criminal organizations. There's plenty of people who would flip. They would spy on them. They would snitch on them. Those are traitors. They're snitches. They're backstabbers. And then you have the true spies, which would be the true undercover police officers. And that I think the big famous one would be Donnie Brasco, or his real name Joe Pistone. So that would be like a comparison to draw it to.
Right. And I think
I agree.
I think the reason that we're going on about this is because in EVE Online, there is a tradition of celebrating the heist, right? Like people that put in thinking effort towards a goal, have the patience to execute it, and have delayed gratifications, and then execute the plan all at once, and it goes off without a hitch. That is celebrated in EVE Online because that's like a thinking plan. It's much different than just betraying your guys because you got mad. Like that's not celebrated and shouldn't be, as far as we're concerned. But I think that's why we make a distinction.
It's the long game factor, right? That's what I'm into. I'm into this guy being there for a year or two, gaining trust, but meantime, he's doing that all because he wants to help us, right? Not there's no other, there are a couple of people that are, they see 200, 300 billion in one of those corp hangars or something like that, and they're inclined to do it, and that's up to them. I'm not going to be like, no, don't do it, etc. Like whatever you want to, if you want to grab, smash and grab, and it's worth it for you, that's fine. I leave it up to them.
Yeah, it's enormously stressful from what I understand, and out of how many people you must see hundreds, if not thousands, of people pass through corps and alliances over your time now. Out of a certain number of people, how many would you say are capable of being a spy?
Well, Eve actually is one of those rare games that it's kind of like an interesting aspect of it, and people find interest in it, right? Not a lot of games you're able to do things like that. So it's increased. Back in the day, like as in when I wasn't a spy, it was a rare thing to actually be a spy, right? It's like during the Mittani days where no one was a spy.
So that would be like 1 in 500, 1 in 200, or
Oh no.
different.
Oh, way less than that.
Yeah.
Back then, it would be
Yeah.
very, very weird, right? Also depends on where you're at, who you're with, etc. But
Yeah,
now,
like 100 of them in the game is what we're talking about,
yeah,
probably.
now it's like a
Oh.
fun thing to do, right? Now it's like one of those. There's not enough content here. I'll just make one on the side, even if you're not working for one of the big operations.
Oh, everybody's got a Karma fleet, a spy. Everybody's got a whole.
All right, we're back after, suspiciously enough, my computer said there was ransomware attack and it froze everything, and I had to do a complete shutdown. That's no ghost story. That actually just happened, and it's never happened before. So super suspicious.
Well played, Rich. Well played, Rich Richmond, and your pennies.
I
Well
didn't
done.
do
Now,
nothing.
this is why he's been redirecting and directing all day. He's just waiting. He's buying time. He's waiting for that IP data mine hack to come back. And he dropped the penny and pushed the button.
He dropped the penny.
Yeah, whoever did that, I'm recruiting, by the way.
Well, speaking of recruiting, is TIA recruiting?
We have enough spies, but
Oh.
if you're some high level and want to kind of get on the level or mess around, sure, yeah.
Well, can anybody apply, or are you looking for a certain specific kind of person with certain traits, or?
So we do drives once in a while, once like a year. Because it takes such a long time to actually raise a spy, you would have to create an account, then be like in high sec for a half a year. For you to be any kind of a useful agenda in null, you have to have a background history, because anyone can kind of be like, you just started playing a week ago and you know this, like what the hell's going on, right? So
Yeah,
you really need that.
Rundle, take over. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Copy that.
What do we call those? We call it the legend. Everybody's got to have a legend, right? Of how they got involved, well, how they came to be, and who they are.
Right, and nobody wants like 1 million SP character, because the chances are you're going to do more harm than good, right? So why would you be useful in any way than be a spy? So you're looking at building a history, actually someone playing for like a half a year to a year, for him to actually, like I said, be in any kind of use. So from that standpoint, um, you have to kind of prepare yourself to be in it, as in like have characters in NPC corps or like just basically high sec alts that can become spies. Then you have a kind of leg in, and then you can, venture into Karma Fleet from high sec or something like that and have some use.
Now, this case with Meyiah, why was she so successful? Where, well, other spies
She's a
wouldn't.
she's a girl for obvious things. She has a French accent, okay? Like
Oh,
she was one of the 6 people that was there at the decision making of what happens to GOTG. That it just shows you how high it was. It was Sort.
yeah,
It was the IT guy, the main IT guy, as Matterall would say, the Illuminati guy, and Maya and like one head FC and like 2 others. I mean, you could count it on your, like 5, 6 people is very little for that kind of a decision. She was there.
that's actually why I wanted to talk to her, and I've also been contacting the main IT guy. I'm not sure if you know, but the main IT guy for Darkness and GOTG
Yes,
is a director of a
yes.
small gang group that I was part of, and
He
so
he was actually in test also, right? The main IT of Darkness, which
I'm
is
not at liberty to say. I have
I
no
mean,
idea.
I would know that, wouldn't I? Right?
Well, of course you might. Was he active at the time of her infiltration? I believe she was. He was. The two of them.
So the guy that I'm not even going to mention his name because obviously I approached him. I'll be honest. Like I approached him and I said, "Hey, Darkness is going to die anyway. Why don't you just, do me the honor of like putting the knife in the back?" Because I mean, Sword had to like. I'm sorry, it just sounds wrong, but uh, the things that Sword was saying, especially on the meta show, like, yeah, I am the best, time zone tanker in the game and all this crap. Like it was like he just had to go. So I did approach him and I said, you want to help us out, and he declined because he's just one of those people, and I respected him for it.
Hmm.
So how involved in the meta game do you feel, like percentage wise? Do you really need to be deep in, or is it really about the gameplay and understanding, kind of who the players are, and that's the level of meta you need?
That's a difficult question. I would say nobody would go through all the things that I'm going through unless they've been like they suffered some kind of like a hit, and I would say Goons did a number on me, so I'm just kind of doing this. I don't think like a normal person would go and do all the things that I'm doing if they didn't go through the backstabbing and them trying to DDoS me or trying to kill my Titan after being a loyal good member to them over some stupid tech moon that they gave to FCON, right?
That's
Right.
what a
Yeah,
trade.
I think the metagame really is if it's not the Illuminati, it's the what's the word I'm looking for? It's the unknown ghost in the machine, right? That really
Yeah.
drives so much of Eve. That frankly, most people either discount or just kind of scoff at. And for me, it's one of the most fascinating elements of Eve. And so, it's interesting point.
That's exactly what I called them, the ghost in the machine.
Really?
That's
Yeah. How odd
yeah,
is that?
that's yeah.
This could be compared to any war in history. Like I like to look at it from like perceptions of what happened in World War II, right? Like when um, America went into war, it was because of Pearl Harbor, because of it was a real surprise attack. Even though they saw it on radar and they knew something was coming, it was a real surprise attack. They just came there and just destroyed a crap load of our ships, right? And then the second one is the curious one because that's when we actually had our spay network and we had all the things going for us. And there's a very interesting story there where the battle actually happened in Midway, the island of Midway. It's between Hawaii and Japan, and it was like a refuel station. And our guys, the Americans or whatever, they decoded a message saying we are about to attack AF, and they sent it to I think Eisenhower or some the main general, and he was like, "Can we make sure AF is Midway? How do we know that?" And so they sent another message saying, basically, there's no water. The water's running out in Midway, and then you see another transcription go through. AF is almost out of water, right? And that's how they knew, and that's why they put in all our carriers, all our forces, everything was behind and waiting when Japan attacked Midway, and that's how we were able to break them. So, spy stuff. It's everywhere.
Now, you speak of real life spy masters. Is there any real life spy masters that you are particularly inspired by or you particularly like?
Well, the story of that big movie hit with Enigma, right? That was a thing. I think everybody kind of appreciated that, where you kind of understand the level of it, where you know the intel, but you can't tell that intel to anyone because it will hurt you in the future. So you are actually in control of what goes through and what doesn't. That's huge because what if you have that Illuminati spy or that Black Hand spy and you're not using him because in the long run it'll actually help you.
I see. Is there any like real life spy figures you particularly like individuals?
Hmm, it's a good question. I don't admire, I think I mentioned before. It was out of necessity that I started doing this, not more
Ah,
that I like. I kind of feel like this has to be um, done for our coalition to be useful in these kinds of whatever we're doing right now. So
well,
I don't have an admiration for like I wouldn't follow anyone in particular.
I see. I can again tell you one figure that I found quite fascinating, and that would
Hmm.
be Eirik Milke. Eric Milke. That would be the person who led the Stasi, the East German spy agency, as well as
During World War II?
no, during the Cold War.
Oh,
East
okay.
Germany, yes, and along with Marcus Wolf, who was also one of the heads for their foreign intelligence group.
And what did they do?
Oh, Marcus Wolf was headed the foreign intelligence, and Stasi was Ministry of State Security. They were actually a lot worse than the Gestapo. They had spies everywhere. Apparently, they got as many as 1 in 10 East Germans were working with the Stasi.
Yeah,
So
the number
that's
I'd read was 1 in 7.
1 in 7. My God.
Yeah, it's quite,
So that's the
quite
extent.
prolific for sure.
So so back onto the Darkness Spy. You said excuse the sexism, but you said she was successful because she was female, but also
No, that was
no.
a joke.
Oh, that was a
She
joke. Okay.
obviously they help, but that she's very
Mm.
skillful, so that was not.
Well, she also spoke French, right? Mentioned that she was a translator and she was
She
able to
speaks
get
5 languages. Yes.
5 languages. Wow. So I presume that would certainly help if you wanted to be a spy. Speak
Right.
multiple
In the
languages.
story, it said it that she was for her CO, she was a translator and she was helping him. That's why she like immediately saw a lot of OPSEC stuff.
Yeah,
So that
and then
was her leg up.
it
Yeah.
says, it says here she became a director of the corp as a result.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
so it's often a mix of real life skills, human skills, and gaming skills, and interpersonal skills that makes an excellent spy, right? Um,
Yeah.
one
Well, and
dimensional people are not usually useful in this situation.
you have to enjoy it also. You have to kind of it's the fact that you know that there's no one else in this position, there's no one else able to get better intel than you, and you're effectively helping us stage in the proper system, helping us to have the right numbers to counter the fleets that we should be countering and ignoring objectives that aren't important, stuff like that, because we see it from their end, right?
So then here's another question. Let's kind of bring the one of the biggest topics right now in the game is war, right? Obviously. So how does war play a role in this? Is it easier to recruit during war? I mean, legit spies, not the traitors. Is are spies more useful during the war, or spies more useful during peacetime? I mean, it could interweave a couple ways. So you got to give us some thoughts on that.
Oh, it basically There's a lot to it. When it's peacetime, I wouldn't justify myself taking like ludicrous amounts of money for an agenda or something like that, right? During war, it's different because taking that money, just like goons are doing right now, they're paying off um, several entities or whatever to help with whatever they have an agenda for, right? So during war, you have to basically, it's kill or be killed in these kinds of things, right? If we leave them alone, they're not going to stop. They're going to go and keep shooting us, right? So we have to keep the pressure on them in order to do it effectively. Obviously, we have to see where their weaknesses are, what to shoot, what not to shoot, what's important, like Siberian Squad, staging Aquarius, where are they staging, what are they doing, when are they forming, are they going to stay there, are they moving elsewhere, and react to that, right? Stuff like that. Everything plays a vital role when you can see it unfiltered through their eyes. So if you don't have that, you're literally just shooting blindfolded, in this meta anyway. And if they have it, they have a huge advantage. So when ISK comes to play in these kinds of, or like the spies, the more the merrier. I can take on like 100 goon spies, and I'll be fine with that.
Oh, that sounds quite a challenge. With these spies, was do they decide when to retire, or do you sometimes have to make the decision and say, you've done enough, or you've gone too far, we need to retire you, or it's time to finish it up?
Oh, okay. It depends. It depends. Like, if the guy is like high end, right? Let's say he's one of the finance guys in Goons, right? Like we see all the money going, where they're going, etc. And they're talking about how they
Hypothetically,
want
yeah.
to, right? Obviously, we would never have a spy in something like that. So, we basically have to, and he says, hey, you know what? Like, I gotta go for like a week or two, and da da da. And I'd be like, listen, it's kind of crucial. Would you mind if I, kept eyes on their channel, their Jabber channel, or wherever they discuss it, right? And um, stuff like that. So it would be like a conversation. And if he can help, that's great. If he's going somewhere and he's not a top vital role, that also plays a role. Like if you're tired of doing it, I'm not gonna. I mean, other people might, but I would say, like real life is important. Do what you need to do. If you can come back, great. If you can't, that's fine.
I
Uh,
think he means in terms of like burn rate, like burning, like burning a spy. Like, okay, you're end of the rope. Steal, or flip a station, or wrap it up, retire your character, and move on to something else. Like
it
so,
rarely it rarely happens when you're really, you're making a difference and you're doing important work. It rarely happens on like the height of the moment. So usually what they would do is we would win the war or lose the war, whatever it is, and then people would go AWOL for a bit, which is fine because this war has been going on for a while and people need rest, right?
yeah, there's no better spy than an old spy, frankly, right? I mean, if you
This
can recycle them and they can move on into some other role and spy somewhere else, right?
That does happen often, yes.
Meyiah, did she make the decision to leave, or was this something that, or was it possible to keep her in darkness when wherever darkness went, or did you feel that was no longer prudent, or did she feel like she did enough and wanted to retire?
That would be a great question for her. But
Oh, well, I'll have to wait for her then.
yeah, I would say she did take a break for a while. She wasn't active. We killed GOTG, and that's what happened. As I said it before, she was inactive, right? We called. I mean, everybody knows those terms, but she became a sleeper, and if you're active, etc. So you have a bunch of sleeper agents that don't do anything, act like a goon, etc., until we wake them up, right? We just snap our fingers, boom, you got to do this and this and this. Those are different type of agents also. So this way you don't get caught, you don't do anything, you don't, there's no like, oh my God, these guys got this intel, so there's got to be a spy here, right? This way, a person's a sleeper, that means that we would never get the intel anyway. So in those terms, she was inactive, and if we wanted to let her stay there, that would have been good. But I'd kind of prefer if she answered that question when she'd be on.
That's understandable. Now, how rewarded are these spies? Of course, I already know, but how much reward do spies generally retire with or leave with once they have done a good career?
Well, I can speak from personal experience on this. I don't want to talk for others, but I do have some of my own. And what happens is eventually either you do get burned or uh, you have better things to do. You've killed an alliance or something like that, or you don't want to move on. You're done with this character. And the SP in that character, you could just extract it and use that as a compensation, right? Because we're not going to be like, okay, give us that character. That's silly. And plus, I think it's a violation of EULA.
Ah, I see. Did you get any AT ships out of your spying career?
Um, okay, somebody asked, how did you? I do have an AT ship, but it wasn't because of spying. It was
Okay.
for XX. I have a
Ah,
fleet.
Thanks to Dark Lord Runner for hosting the stream. Oh, spying rewards. Sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts now.
You're, did I,
How is it? Well, how stressful has spying been for, say, you and any of your spies? Because, well, you're operating against the enemy for quite a long time. You have to uphold your own facade, but also it's a thankless job. I presume most spies don't expect to be given a big thanks. I believe quite a good number of spies in EVE have probably retired without anybody having any idea of what they've done for their alliances.
unless your TA director knows all of them. I'm just
Well, of course, unless, but your handler
yeah.
and your director would love you to bits, but the average guy, they don't know anything of what you've done.
It's a team, right? It's like it
Yeah.
really is a team, and doing it yourself, I would, jump off a cliff or something. It's there's a lot of work involved, and luckily, TAA is an organization. It's not just me. There are 3 directors. There are a bunch of officers. There's a CI team. So those are people that are internally looking after each corp, and those people from the corp report to the higher up CIs, and it all kind of comes together. And something does require someone like me to look at it, I look at it. But usually, there's other people to help. So luckily, there are a lot of awesome people, and yes, they definitely don't get enough credit. I mean, we're actually going to do a thing to thank them, and it sucks because they should stay anonymous because it makes their job a little bit easier, but they do deserve the recognition. So there is that. You're totally correct. There's that.
I believe the CIA, the very stars on their wall that honors all of their spies, have not a name on them because, well, a lot of them must remain secret even after
Exactly.
they die.
And this is just CI, and spies are even like spies know the deal. Like, oh, can't
You,
even like. It sucks. It sucks, but yeah.
I presume you give, you offer them a lot of support, throughout the entire process.
Yeah. I mean, most of the ones, like, there's, you basically have to have a rapport with them. You have to know them. I mean, all the people that I deal with, they're like my friends. I don't look at it like you work for me or whatever. They're literally, without their work, we would be like in deep trouble. So they know it, and they help, and we're obviously very thankful.
Have you ever had concerns where a spy might turn into an enemy, or a spy is benefiting the enemy more than you?
Sure, of course, of course. Especially, let's say we're doing something and then we catch people, and then we know goons are able to catch these people, and then we're caught them the same way, and we know that goons are able to catch them, and these guys they didn't touch. Why didn't they touch these guys? Like, they had the tools to find them. We know they had the tools, so why are they not killing this guy? He's our guy, but they could have outed him, but they didn't. They outed the other guy, but they didn't out him. So that's
They're being
very weird.
flipped.
Right, exactly. So I'm not saying they are or they aren't, but that happens a lot. So without discussing like the actual things, it does happen a lot. You try to give the people benefit of the doubt. You never know what's in a person's head. You don't know what their actual motives are. There are people that I do trust. There are people that I don't. There are people that I use for intel. And there are people that are that I know for a fact they wouldn't do anything bad to our alliance. So it's a
Hmm.
it's a judgment call.
Now I presume you have spies, but you also have a number of people who are willing to, or are disgruntled and are willing to betray, right? Or you can't comment.
Sure. I can comment on one guy. So there's a lot of stories. This is a long war, so there's a lot of stories, and this guy helped us buy out like 20 supers, and before he came to our side, he was a goon. He was in, I think, Ascendance, and he was a great guy. And he just didn't want to be a goon anymore. And before moving him over, he spied for us for like 2 months, and he had a super character. He basically did a play-by-play on what the supers and the titans were doing, which was super helpful. And he paid his toll basically to flip. Right? It wasn't just, oh, you want to be in test now since you were going. No, like, he worked for it, right? And then when he actually flipped, he bought 20 supers or something like that, and they were very cheap at the time. It was when right before they went up in value. So uh, it was like 12 billion super hulls, and everybody knows they're like twice the price right now. So he bought a bunch of us, a bunch of them, then jump them into T5Z from 1DQ. So we didn't have to pay asset safety and none of that. And I think it was a few Titans. I'm not sure how many, but I remember a 60 bill Avatar and a bunch of others. And yeah, he bought all the stuff. He came over with his Wyvern and some other stuff, and we took him in. So that's a good example of someone that had to work for to come to us and prove his demerit and or whatever.
Now you don't have to tell me the truth. You could be lying. You could lie, complete lie about it. But how many spies to say traitors do you usually have, or do you have?
Okay, so traitors or spies, or what is that?
Well, how many people, like sleeper agents, true undercover spies, do you have to the ratio of people who are just disgruntled and betrayed?
Okay, spies to traitors ratio. So it depends on each, on what we stand for and stuff like that. I mean, goons do a lot of spin and do a lot of media stuff because they have to do it. They have to keep their morale up and they have to spin the story every time. And we don't have to do much of that because, I mean, we are what we are. There's no real need of hiding or, oh my God, we killed 20 billion to R15, yay, like they do with the BRs every single day. And oh my God, they're gonna jump out of M2 right now. Everybody log in. No, we're not. So they do that a lot to keep the hype, to keep the morale. We don't. So in that regard, I prefer the spies, and that's what we have. Most of our people are sleepers or actual spies, and not what you would call traitors, what I would call defectors at this
Well, yeah.
stage.
All right, I'm
Well,
back.
of
Did we?
course. And,
How,
well,
how do we do? Where are
people
we?
who do wish to sell a bit of info, just keep in mind, once you begin, you're in. Because as soon as you sell just one piece of information, they can use that against you, and they can get more. So
I
if you suddenly
wouldn't,
want to pull out,
for the record, but yes, others would. Others would be like, you already gave me information. You want to be outed as a spy? Of course, people can do that. But like I said, we're the good guys.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Rundle,
muddled our way.
where
Yeah,
we
we
end
muddled
up?
our way through some stories. We just kept on the spy topic. I wasn't sure if you wanted to
No, that
comment
was
on
good.
the RC stuff or anything like that.
No, that's good. We can revisit this topic. Do you guys like this topic in chat? Let us know. We can do some of this stuff. It is some of the deeper layers of EVE Online, some of the more mysterious and interesting parts, but also the most secretive. So we don't get usually a glimpse of the tools of the trade or the patterns of the behavior, or any of that stuff. But I'm glad you guys like that. Antar, it was really nice of you to talk with us.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, I guess we'll end it here. And can we have you back, Antar, at some point?
Sure. I hope maybe after the war I can actually like do the same thing that we did with GOTG and spill some beans on some interesting things that we've done.
And I'd love to be able to interview you and well, have a chat with you and Meyiah, if that's possible.
I think Rich wants to work for you.
Oh,
he's like,
I already ruined it.
We are recruiting if you're sort of like a high end, you know. So we check. Rich, are you in Pappy Comms? No.
I already ruined it for Rich. Rich got kicked from 2 alliances already for being caught at
Hey, I didn't spy for anything.
He's just trying to pick up he's trying to get to the A game because his B game failed. So
yeah, exactly.
He tanked.
You're a nice enough guy. We'll figure something out for you.
All right, Rich.
You got another in, Rich. You got another in. See how I'm helping you here?
You can talk after the show in private. All right. Well, thanks very much. Really nice to have you on, Antar Logan, from Test. And Rundle, thanks for helping out. And Rich, of course, thanks for helping out as well. Thank you guys for sticking around. We will see you next time on Talking in Stations.
It's fun. Thanks, guys. See you later.